Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to a special webinar experience that will leave you inspired and empowered. Prepare to embark on a thrilling journey of fearless communication. As some of you may already be familiar, my name is Mikey, your host and moderator for today's event. Before we start the session and dive deep into the topic, let's set the stage for an interactive and immersive experience. In the chat box on your right, express your emotions as vividly as you can with an emoji or a word to summarize how you're feeling. Great. I'm very excited as well. Leonard's feeling funny right now. Great. Lots of people. Please, I encourage everyone to share how you're feeling. It's a good icebreaker, and it already gets you started with the using the chat function. I'm sure we're all looking forward to this webinar, and it's the weekend ahead as well. Hello, everyone. We'll just wait a couple more seconds before we start. Okay, I think we have quite a few people in the room right now, so let's begin the session. Before I introduce Natalie, I'm just going to go through a bit of housekeeping for those that aren't too familiar with this platform. So throughout the session, your questions will be the fuel that ignites the interactivity. So get ready, because we want your questions flooding the chat box on your right. The webinar will offer many chat-in opportunities and polls. And just a reminder, the presentation will be available to be downloaded as a handout at the end of the session. We want all of you in the driver's seat actively participating and seizing every moment to make this hour together an enjoyable experience for all. So now we come to Natalie. Let me introduce our speaker for today, Natalie Kniese, public speaking and communication trainer, entrepreneur, radio announcer, and host. With more than a decade of experience in the Malaysian and Southeast Asian entertainment industry, Natalie can be regarded as one of Malaysia's best public speakers and trainers, having spent more than 17 years learning the art via real-life, in-depth experiences. Over to you, Natalie.
Thank you so much, Mikey. Hi, and welcome to Leading with Fearless Communication. So I wanted to take the time to thank you for joining this webinar today. I'm really excited to share, and I'm sure you're going to be learning a lot in this rather short session. So yes, as Mikey mentioned previously, I'm Natalie Kniese from NK Communications. I'm a public speaking and also communication trainer. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a radio host and TV host, I'm an MC, and I'm also a VO talent. So my entire career is essentially based on communicating. I communicate daily for entertainment, I communicate for my businesses, and I also communicate on behalf of the companies that I host for. So I've learned a lot in the last 17 years of doing this, and it's sort of become my personal mission to make sure that my company builds these powerful speakers who strive to make a difference in their communities, whether it's at work or even at home. So let's get to working on the chat box. If you're ready for today's webinar, I want you to type yes in capital letters in the chat box. Let's see. If you're ready, type yes in capital letters. Yes, let's go. Yes. Mikey actually told me a little bit earlier that there's about 600 people joining this webinar. So I'm super excited, and it's lovely to see everybody typing yes. I'm very excited. Okay, so guys, please make sure you ask as many questions as you like, and make sure you stay until the end, because there'll be a Q&A session where I'll answer all of your questions. For now, though, I want to get to know you a little bit better, because I can't see you. I can only see myself and my slides. Tell me, what are you? Are you a leader who needs to communicate with your team on a daily basis? Or are you a team member who needs to communicate with a leader on a daily basis? So which one are you, leader or team member? Mikey, can we bring up our very first poll, please? Are you a leader or are you a team member? Let's wait a second for Mikey to bring up the poll. Do we have Mikey? And our very first poll. Okay, you can type in the chat box, team member or leader. We have some leaders, middle managers. We have leaders as a supervisor, member, leader. So I would say 50-50. Some are leaders, some are team members. Okay, so today's session is going to be primarily focused on leaders, but don't worry, if you are a team member who's striving to become a leader or has your sights set on becoming a leader, there's going to be some gems in this webinar that you can keep for the future, okay? You can also share this webinar with your team leader to encourage better communication at your workplace. Now, to give you a quick rundown of today's session, what we're going to do is we're going to cover 4 topics. If you have a look at the slide, first topic is how leaders can create a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace. Second topic is how you as a leader can encourage feedback and constructive criticism amongst your team. Third topic is going to be how you can nurture collaboration and also innovation. And finally, we're going to learn how leaders can lead by example. All right? I'm a supervisor, need to communicate, chat setting. Okay. If you have any problems with the chat, Mikey will be there to sort it out along with Hannah from Naluri. For now, though, we're going to get into it with our introduction, the power of fearless communication. So to be an effective leader, we really need to understand that communication is the cornerstone of success in any organization. You need to talk to people and other people need to talk to you. So we as leaders, we're going to need to be the ones to kind of create this environment where our team members, the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis, feel safe enough to express their ideas, to share feedback, and to engage in those meaningful conversations that will help you grow as a team. Now, if you can do this as a leader, you're going to encourage transparency. You're going to build trust with other people. And best of all, you're going to foster a culture of innovation, which to me, I believe, is super essential in today's modern world. So the first step in this journey that we're going to be taking to be able to become a good leader is to start by creating the environment. What we need to do is we need to create a safe and inclusive space where all of this can happen at the workplace. So let's look at point number 1. Creating a safe and inclusive environment by encouraging open dialogue. So as a leader, it's important to establish some sort of psychological safety within your team. And by this, I mean that we need to create this atmosphere where people feel comfortable to speak up, to share their perspectives, and to also maybe even challenge the status quo. For example, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, he encourages his employees to voice their opinions, and he provides forums like town hall meetings where everybody can openly share their ideas. So if we were to encourage open dialogue at the workplace today, we would need to encourage, we as leaders, we need to encourage more questions. We would need to actively listen, and we would need to hold these respectful debates. So how can we do this? Well, here are 5 ideas on how you can implement this at the workplace immediately, like starting tomorrow. We need to start first by encouraging your team to communicate. And the simplest way that you can do this is perhaps in your next team meeting. If you think about it, most meetings start with, okay, let's get on with business. We don't have time. Go, go, go. I talk, you listen. But how about an alternative? How about doing it a different way? You could start by setting the tone. If you have some extra time in your next team meeting, you can announce to your team that their opinions and their ideas are welcomed and valued. It could be as simple as saying, hello, everybody. Thank you for making the meeting today. I want to kick off this meeting by creating an open space for your input. We have an exciting new project ahead, and I really value each of your perspectives. So let's start by going around the room and hearing your initial thoughts on how we can approach this topic or project. Remember that there's no right or wrong answers. I just want to have a discussion. So John, would you like to start? See, by doing this, what you're going to do is you're going to foster an environment where people feel safe to share their thoughts and ideas without the fear of any judgment or any kickbacks. So encourage communication by leading by example and doing this with your team. The next thing that we can do is promote or provide opportunities for participation. If there is no outlet for people to speak, then clearly they're going to keep quiet. So as a leader, what you need to do is we need to create opportunities for our team members to really actively participate in those meetings, in those discussions, and even sometimes in the decision-making processes. So why not try this? Instead of you chairing the next team meeting, why not you just take a chance and get a member of your team to lead it or even present the ideas? You can rotate amongst your team, and really this just allows everybody in your team to have a fair chance and a voice in the organization. The next thing that you can do is ask more open-ended questions. Most of the time, what we want is, because we're in a rush, we're going to ask straightforward questions which give direct answers, closed-ended questions. They're just simple yes or no answers. Why not level up your question asking skills? Ask more open-ended questions, because this is just going to encourage your team to share their thoughts and also their insights. For example, instead of saying, hey, did you understand the new project requirements? Which could be replied with, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. You could ask, hey, what are your thoughts on the new project requirements? And how do you think we can go about it? By just adding a few words and maybe just swapping the position of the words, we can do wonders on how somebody's going to answer a question. And you don't even need to do this in the workplace. You can do this at home as well. Instead of asking your kid, hey, how was your day today? Good, bad. You can actually ask them, what was the most exciting part of your day? To which they are going to answer in a more creative, in a more outspoken way. Another thing that you can do when trying to encourage open dialogue is to organize brainstorming sessions. This is super, super simple. This helps you to encourage creative thinking and also idea generation. Every month or even bi-monthly, you can hold a short meeting where team members can share their ideas. They can get together and talk about the things that interest them, regardless of how weird it may seem. And here's an important point. As a leader, once they're done sharing, try to stay away from any remarks from you or your team, and make sure you don't put the other person down. Zero judgment. It's just encouraging more communication in a space where these ideas can be built upon and they can be explored together. And finally, you can encourage open dialogue by offering feedback and also recognition. As a leader, we need to provide regular feedback and some sort of recognition to team members. The team members, especially who contribute and speak up, we need to tell them, hey, I really appreciate that you're doing this. And if you can do this, it reinforces the importance of speaking up, and it motivates every single other person who does not like to speak up in your team to participate. So these are just 5 simple ways on how we can encourage open dialogue at the workplace starting tomorrow. So out of these 5 suggestions, which one can and will you implement tomorrow? Mikey, is it possible for you to bring up our next poll? Is Mikey still there? Or have the polls? Yes, good. Which out of these 5 suggestions for creating open dialogue will you implement or try to implement at least tomorrow? Are you going to encourage more communication? Are you going to try to lead by example? Are you going to try to provide opportunities for participation? Are you going to ask more open-ended questions? Are you going to conduct more brainstorming sessions? Okay, answers are slowly coming in. And it's leaning towards encouraging communication and asking more open-ended questions. These are really simple tips that you can implement tomorrow at the workplace. Do try it and see what happens to your team. From there, you can tweak and you can adjust and you can improve. Great, thank you so much for answering. 107 answers in total. All right, so now we're still on the subject of creating a safe and also inclusive environment. The next point is a point that I believe is super essential as a quality in a leader. And that point is active listening and empathy. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna try a short exercise with you. All right, so whether or not I can see you, I want you to actively participate in this, okay? I'm gonna give you a minute to find a piece of A4 paper like so. Just find the piece of A4 paper, can be recycled, can be new, it doesn't matter. Let's just put 1 minute on the clock find a piece of A4 paper. Once you have it, type done. Once you have it, type done. 1 minute on the clock. Let's go. Done, 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 done. Okay, let's give you guys another 30 seconds or so, okay? Another 30 seconds to find a piece of A4 paper. Can be recycled, can be new, doesn't matter. All right, you guys are super fast. Okay, let's begin. If you have that piece of A4 paper, I want you to hold it up like so. And I'm going to tell you the expectation is very simple. At the end of this exercise, your sheet of paper should look exactly like mine. So I have complete confidence in everyone here today. I'm going to give you the instructions. All you have to do is follow them. Let's go, okay? Fold the paper in half. Fold the paper in half, guys. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tear off the top right. Okay? Done? Fold in half, tear off top right. Fold in half again. Okay? And now tear off top left. And now fold in half one more time. And what you're going to do is tear off top right. Okay, so I do believe we all have a piece of paper that looks exactly like this. And I'm looking at myself in the in the little viewer here, and I look like a magician. Okay, so what we did was we folded a piece of paper in half. We tore off top right, folded it in half again, tore off top left. And then after that, folded in half one more time and tore off top right. Yes, agree? If you agree with me, type agree inside the chat box. Agree, 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 agree. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reveal my piece of paper and you have to reveal yours as well. So here we go. This is what my paper looks like, okay? So the big question is now, does yours look like mine? Now, I don't know what yours, I see one eye. No, no, okay. I can't see you, okay? But it's not quite the same. So even though I had a very clear picture of my instructions and my expectations, I double checked with you, I ended up with a miscommunication. And just by tearing this piece of paper, top right, top left, top right, it's a simple demonstration of what can happen if we, as leaders or even team members, fail to listen actively. So active listening is an essential quality in any leader and also team member. So to explain, active listening is fully concentrating on the other person, being empathetic, and understanding the words that are being said along with the emotions. And then you respond appropriately and remember what was said. So essentially, active listening is a very long process. It might get a little bit laborious. There's a lot that goes on in this process. So let's have a look at it in detail. Is it possible for us to move the slide? Perfect. Okay, so the active listening process is a 7-step process. As I mentioned, it's a long process. The first step in active listening is for you to be attentive. Focus your 100% attention on the other person. No distractions. Put your phone away, sit in a quiet room, focus 100% on the other person. The second step in active listening is to ask open-ended questions. It encourages thought. It encourages detail. It encourages a full answer. If you don't know how to ask an open-ended question, they normally start with why, how, and what. Next up in the active listening process is to ask probing questions. Ask for more detail. Can you tell me more? Please explain what you mean. I'm unsure if I understand correctly. Could you tell me a little bit more about point A, point B, point C? These are probing questions. And these probing questions help you understand the root of the message, so you know how to move forward. Number 4 in the active listening process is to request for clarifications. If you need any clarifications, request for it. You can say it again. I'm unsure that I fully understand what you mean by this. Could you clarify for me? Or you could even ask a different question altogether. Number 5 in the active listening process is to paraphrase what you've just heard and repeat it back to the other person. When you're paraphrasing, make sure you reflect on the feelings that have been shared in the conversation. And finally, number 7 in the active listening process is for you to summarize what you have heard. So there's 7 steps in this active listening process. And once you begin to employ your active listening skills in a conversation, you will find, or you can ensure, that miscommunication is kept to a minimum. You can identify or anticipate problems. It prevents you from missing important information. It helps you to resolve conflicts. It helps you to build stronger relationships. And most importantly, it helps to empower you as a leader. Okay? So the benefits of active listening are actually super endless. You don't even need to use it in the office. You can even use it at home, in your relationships, in your friendships. Try it out in your next conversation. It helps you become a better listener. So now, we've completed point number 1. We've created a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace by encouraging open dialogue and also employing our active listening skills. Let's look at the next point. Here's how we as leaders can encourage feedback and also give and receive criticism. So a research by a company called Gallup, they're a company that specializes in workplace consulting and also research, shows that employees who receive regular feedback have higher levels of engagement and higher levels of performance. So fearless communication involves providing feedback fearlessly. For example, if you look at the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk, he is known for his direct and honest feedback. He is probably the poster boy for open communication. Look at his tweets. If you look at his tweets and the way that he speaks to people, I can only imagine what it must be like to work for him. So whenever we deliver feedback, we need to remember to focus on the impact of the person's actions and give them suggestions that are actionable for them to improve. Your mindset when you are giving feedback needs to be on emphasizing growth and development rather than trying to put the blame or give judgment on somebody else. So here are 3 ways that you can give constructive feedback to someone else. Next slide, please. All right, hang on a second. Do we have the next slide? Yes, perfect. Apologies, I've just moved my notes a second. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so here's 3 different ways that you can give constructive feedback. Number 1, you can choose the right time and place. The timing, this is like fairly obvious. The timing has got to be right and the setting has got to be right as well. Imagine giving someone constructive feedback when they're having a headache, or if they just come out from a long meeting, or if somebody from their family has recently passed away. If you give somebody feedback when it's in a wrong time or a wrong place, the way that they receive your feedback is going to be so different than if you had found a more suitable time or a private setting to give that feedback. And remember, as a leader, just because you're ready to give feedback doesn't mean that the other person is ready as well. So you need to be really observant of what's going on with the other person. You and the other person need to be in a calm and very focused state of mind. So choose your time and your place wisely. The next thing that you can do is to be specific and be objective. Here's how you can deliver feedback fearlessly. When you're giving constructive feedback, you need to clearly state the behavior that needs improvement. We need to 110% focus on the actions rather than personal judgments. So whenever you can, try to use examples to help you. For example, instead of saying to, say, for example, your worker's name is Sarah, instead of saying, "Hey, Sarah, your presentation yesterday wasn't great. You spoke so fast, I don't think anybody understood a single word of what you said. Were you nervous?" So this can come off sounding like a personal attack on their presentation skills, which can be hard for a person to take. It's a blow to your own ego. Instead, all you need to do is just rephrase and say it along the lines of this. Hey, Sarah, I wanted to discuss the client presentation that you gave yesterday. You know what you did? You covered the main points really, really well, but I noticed that you spoke quite quickly, which might have made it a little bit challenging for our clients to fully understand all the information. Was everything okay? What you've done is you've just softened the blow. You're focusing on the action and how it affects the team, the organization in general. You're also helping the other person understand how their actions affect other people. And by doing this, this gives the both of you room for discussion on how to improve and also how to grow. And finally, to give constructive feedback, we can use something called the sandwich technique, which essentially is positive, negative, positive. Sandwich your constructive feedback here between two positive statements. Again, it's cushioning the blow. Begin with your positive feedback and then provide the constructive feedback in a clear and respectful manner. And then after that, end with positive reinforcement or encouragement. By using this sandwich technique, the person who's on the receiving end of your constructive feedback is not going to feel as attacked as compared to you just giving the constructive feedback by itself. So remember, the goal of constructive feedback is to help your team develop and also help your team improve. So try to approach your conversations with empathy. I keep seeing somebody write empathy in the chat box. Try to approach these conversations with empathy, with respect, and also a genuine desire to support the other person's growth. Now, remember, this is probably what you have in mind already. You probably have good intentions in mind. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, the way we communicate can come off negatively. So you're going to have to make a conscious decision to communicate without blaming or without judging. Okay, so out of these 3 points, tell me, which one resonates the most with you? Mikey, could you help me bring up our next poll, please? Which of these 3 points resonates with you? Which one do you feel like you could actually employ? Choosing the right time and place to give constructive feedback, being specific and objective with your comments, or by doing something as simple as using the sandwich technique to give feedback fearlessly. I kind of figured it was going to be the sandwich technique. Let's see which one wins. Sandwich, 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 sandwich. By the way, thank you guys so much for actively participating in these polls. It really warms my heart to see the numbers move and the bars move. This is really, really great. So currently choosing the right time and place seems to be winning, followed closely by the sandwich technique. Okay, great. Let's continue with our point number 2, how you as a leader can receive feedback. So now that we know how to give others feedback, we need to know as a leader the importance of modeling fearless communication by receiving this feedback like a princess with openness and grace. You cannot dish out without getting it back. So let's move the slide. Okay, so as a leader, you need to encourage your team members to provide you with feedback and also assure them that their opinions are valued. Now, Sheryl Sandberg, she's the former COO of Facebook. She is a huge advocate for feedback, and she actually sees it as a way for her to learn and also grow. If you watch any of her interviews, in many of them, she has shared how receiving feedback has actually helped her to become a better leader. So here's how you can do it in 9 steps. Maybe long, but don't worry, it's going to be good. Number 1, listen actively. You already know the active listening process, the 7-step process. Listen actively. Show a genuine interest in what the other person is saying. Number 2, very, very important. Stay calm and don't be defensive. Keep your emotions in check. Goose fraba. Number 3, seek clarification if you need clarification. By seeking clarification, you're going to be able to fully grasp the other person's viewpoint. Number 4, avoid justifying or even making excuses. We as humans, we do this all the time. We don't like it when we're being put down, but try to avoid justifying or making excuses. Instead of immediately offering an explanation or a justification, take the time to reflect on the feedback. Stay away from making those excuses or even shifting the blame to someone or something else. Number 5, ask for examples or suggestions. If you can ask the other person for concrete examples or even suggestions for how you can improve, then this will help to provide you with, a starting point for making changes. Number 6, express gratitude. This is a truly gracious way of accepting feedback. Most of the time you get feedback, you're like, oh, okay, thanks. And then you just go off and grumble in the corner. No, accept it graciously. Thank the other person with sincerity for taking the time to provide their input and for helping you grow as a leader. Once that's done, number 7, reflect and take action. Reflect on the feedback that you have received and develop this action plan to try and carry out the steps. Share it with the person who provided the feedback. Next, and this is a very important step, show a growth mindset. You need to kind of view feedback as an opportunity for your growth and your development. You need to approach it with a mindset of continuous improvement. You learn from your mistakes. It's not bad for somebody to tell you you're not doing something well. You can learn on how to do it better. And finally, follow up and express appreciation. Once you've had the time to reflect and make those changes, follow up with the person who gave you the feedback. You can share the steps you're trying to make to make those changes. And if you do this with the other person, it's going to show them you're committed to growing and that you value open communication at the workplace. So as a leader, it's your job to create this feedback culture where feedback is seen as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for improvement rather than criticism or a kickback on whatever it is that you have done. If you as a leader can receive feedback with openness and grace, your team, I promise you, is going to have so much respect for you. Okay, so now that we have created a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace, and we've also adopted a workplace culture that encourages feedback and also constructive criticism, let us look at point number 3, how we can nurture collaboration and also innovation. So fearless communication fosters collaboration. For example, if you have a look at the slide, at Pixar Animation Studios, the leaders there actually encourage cross-functional collaboration. And this cross-functional collaboration promotes innovation. It promotes knowledge sharing, and it provides opportunities for brainstorming and also idea generation. This type of collaborative culture has actually contributed to the success of Disney Pixar and how they've produced some truly innovative and critically acclaimed films. So even if you don't watch cartoons or animation, you for sure heard of at least one of the titles that's displayed on this slide. So tell me in the comments, just for fun, which is your favorite Disney Pixar movie? For me, my favorite is Monsters, Inc. That's my ultimate favorite. Many. Name one. What's Coco? Not too sure what Coco is. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Bugs Life, Toy Story. Yeah, you know these names. And these are all products of innovation. So as a leader, if you can create a culture where everybody's opinions, contributions are respected and valued, you're going to see this synergy at the workplace. And you're going to probably see more innovative ideas pop up. And the best thing is, if you have people working in your team from different generations, put them together and make them work together, because you'll see some truly innovative ideas. It's happening now where I work at Fly FM. We have millennials together with Gen X's, together with Gen Z's, and we're all working together and trying to make the radio station better. So how can we do this at the workplace? How can we encourage or nurture collaboration and innovation? Well, here are 3 simple ways. Number 1, we can design an open workspace. We can create these open areas, breakout spaces, or these collaboration zones where team members can gather together, they can share ideas, they can work together. Who says you gotta sit at your particular desk all day long? Companies like Google and 3M, they've implemented something called the 20% time or innovation time, which these sort of spare times allow their employees to spend time during their work week to pursue their choice of innovative projects. If your company allows you to do this, go ahead, design that open workspace. Next up is recognition and rewards. This is something that's proven to work. If you can implement a recognition program that celebrates your team's efforts, you'll begin to see more people step up and work together. It could be as simple as having a small bi-yearly award ceremony, and you just award the individuals or the teams that demonstrate effective collaboration. You can do this through like a formal reward system, or you could just have a simple public appreciation. Get a little trophy, award them for what they have done. This actually encourages and also motivates other people to actively participate. When they see other people getting recognition, they're going to want it too. All right? And finally, number 3 in how you can nurture collaboration and innovation is training and development. If you haven't done so already, you need to provide training and development opportunities that focus on collaboration and teamwork. You can send your teams to workshops or seminars on collaboration skills, conflict resolution, and communication techniques. We have so many courses on this. I thought I'd just slide this in here. So feel free to let us know how we can help you. Also, if your company contributes to HRDC in Malaysia, you can send them for free. Just need to check with your HR. So by sending your team for training, you're actually helping them to develop the skills and also the right mindset for successful collaborations. So by simply implementing these 3 strategies, you can begin to create a collaborative culture where your team members feel empowered to collaborate, to share their knowledge, and to kind of collectively work together towards common goals in your company. Okay, so far what we've done is we've created a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace. We've adopted a workplace culture that encourages feedback and constructive criticism. We're nurturing collaboration and innovation. And as I said, we're doing 4 points today in today's webinar. Number 4, how leaders can lead by example. So as a leader, what we need to do is we need to be authentic and we need to be vulnerable. People love it when we're authentic, even in presentations. You know, research shows that your audience will feel a deeper connection with you if you make a mistake in your speech. To you, making a mistake is going to sound like the worst thing you could possibly do. Like the ground is going to open up and you're going to fall right inside it. But your audience is actually going to love you for it because it shows that you are human. So authenticity and vulnerability are actually key aspects of leading with fearless communication. We need to be genuine with our interactions. We need to share our own experiences. And we need to be willing to admit our mistakes or our uncertainties. If you can be vulnerable with your team, you're going to encourage them to do the same. And you're going to create this circle or this sort of culture of trust and authenticity. So wherever possible, share your story. Be willing to share your personal experiences, your successes, your failures with your team. Let's see if you guys actually do this on a daily basis or weekly basis. Mikey, can you help us bring up our next poll, please? This is a quick one. Do you actively sit down to talk and share stories with the members of your team or organization? Doesn't matter if you're a leader or a team member, do you actively sit down and talk to them? Share stories. Tell them about how you failed at doing something or how you succeeded at doing something. Get voting in the poll. Sometimes yes, yes I do, no I don't, sometimes. All right, so currently sometimes yes is the one that is winning right now. Yes I do. Okay, majority of you actually do share with your team. And you know, by sharing these stories with your team, it's going to create a sense of connection. And you're going to develop stronger relationships with those who work under you. If it's appropriate, you can share stories of your own challenges and the lessons you've learned, how you've overcome a struggle or how you've won at something in life. Okay? The next way that you can be authentic and vulnerable is to be transparent. Practice transparent communication by sharing relevant information and updates with your team. Whenever possible, try not to withhold information or sugarcoat those situations. If it's allowed, you need to share the decision behind or the reason behind your decisions, even if it's difficult or if it's unpopular. When I was younger, working, I won't tell you where I worked, but when I was younger, I had a boss who would share nothing, zero, when it came to the performance of the company. And we, as the employees, we were all sat there left guessing about how well we'd done. After a while, most people just gave up and they couldn't be bothered to put in the effort into achieving any of those company goals. We just went in, we got a salary, we went home. Half of the people, they left. So transparency is going to help you build trust and demonstrate authenticity. And finally, to be authentic, you need to embrace your emotions. Allow yourself to show these genuine emotions when it's appropriate. Please share your excitement, share your enthusiasm or your concern with your team and vice versa. Emotions show that you are human instead of a robot. And emotions are actually a super powerful tool for connecting with other people and demonstrating this authenticity. Even in your presentation, share emotions. That's how things sell. You know, I've hosted so many events where the CEO of a company who's done really well in the last year just stands there, rigid, delivers a keynote which is unprepared, boring, and is said without a single emotion. Congratulations, team, we have done so well for this year. Really? Really? As a leader, you need to put yourself in the shoes of your team. How does that make your team feel when you are emotionless? You need to share the ups and downs together. You need to show that emotion. So as often as possible, be the leader who shares stories, is transparent, and shows their emotions. It's a great relationship building tool. Okay, 444. On to the last point in how leaders can lead by example, and this is by setting clear expectations. Setting clear expectations as a leader who wants to communicate fearlessly is essential for ensuring alignment, accountability, and effective collaborations. So here are some simple steps on how you can do this. Let's do this with an example, okay? Imagine for a second, say you work for Grab or Food Panda, you are the dude that's receiving the envelope there. You're in the customer service team, you are the leader. The first step when you are attempting to complete a new goal or undertake a new project would be to, number one, not assume that everybody knows exactly what's going on in your mind. You need to, number one, define and communicate the goals. What exactly are the goals or the objectives of the project or the task? You need to share these goals and objectives to your team, along with the purpose, so that everybody understands the desired outcome. For example, you could say, hey guys, thanks for making today's team meeting. Our goal is to increase customer satisfaction by 20% in the next quarter. This means that we need to deliver exceptional customer service and get feedback from our customers to improve our processes. So define and communicate the goals. From there, next step, we need to break down those goals into measurable objectives. These objectives should be actionable, and they need to provide clarity on what needs to be achieved. For example, you're still the boss of this customer service team at Grab. You can say, to achieve our customer satisfaction goal, we need to reduce the response time to customer inquiries. And we're aiming, guys, wait for it, I know this is really difficult, under 1 minute or less. I know we can do this. Let's also have a feedback system so customers can tell us what's wrong, and then we will know how to serve them better. So now that we have, the goals and the objectives, from here, we need to assign the task. Not everybody is entirely sure of their exact responsibilities in the company, especially if you have a very lean team. Some people might be doing 3 jobs at once. So make sure you clearly communicate roles and responsibilities. As a leader, we need to be sure that each team member knows exactly what is expected of them and how their work is going to, contribute to the overall goal or goals of the company. If you can be clear, concise, it's going to minimize any confusion and any sort of duplication of work or effort. So for example, in your team meeting, you could say, okay, John, you're the customer service team lead. Your responsibility is going to be about monitoring the response times. You're going to identify any areas that we can improve in, and you're going to give coaching to our frontliners. I know this is a lot of work, but I have a lot of faith in you. Now from here, you can go on to point number 4. Encourage questions and seek clarity. We need to ensure that everybody is on the same page. Encourage your team members to ask questions and seek clarification if they are unsure about anything. If you have listened actively and implemented everything that I've said in the last 47 minutes, your employees should have no trouble in speaking up to ask. And finally, now that everybody's on the same page, you need to provide ongoing feedback and support. Recognize your team members' achievements, provide them with constructive feedback, and offer guidance whenever possible. Just be there for them. This helps to create an environment of continuous improvement where feedback is, valued and is used to enhance performance. So by following these 5 steps, you can set clear expectations and communicate fearlessly as a leader who fosters this culture of transparency, accountability, and effective collaboration within your team. So there you have it, how to lead with fearless communication by creating a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace. Let's have a look at the recap slide. Do we have the recap slide? Yep, here we go. So, too much. Okay, creating a safe and inclusive environment at the workplace, adopting a workplace culture that encourages feedback and constructive criticism, you're nurturing collaboration and innovation, and last but not least, you're leading by example. So tell me in the chat box, which part of this webinar resonated with you, or which part will you remember the most? Let me know, start typing. Which part do you remember? I love authenticity, good. What else do you remember? What else sticks in your mind? What else are you gonna take and tell your team tomorrow? Number 4, number 1, number 2, a lot more bosses need EQ training. Being vulnerable doesn't come naturally to most. Correct, I completely agree with you there. Good, good, good. So I see the most popular ones are number 2 and number 4. This is awesome. Okay, so I do hope that you'll use any of the information that I've shared here today at the workplace in the future to help you kind of communicate at a higher level with your team. If you want the slides for today's presentation, please do check the handout link. I do believe Mikey has attached our slides today, and there's a copy for you to download so that you have all the points there and you can have a look at it. And if you'd like to learn more, please do follow us on our socials at natalie.kniese. We're constantly sharing new content. We're constantly striving to create content that's going to benefit you. And if you'd like to check out our courses or our training programs, please check www.nataliekniese.com. We have a lot of courses for individuals. We do personal coaching, and we also do corporate training. We have 5 different training programs for you to choose from. Everything from your basic public speaking all the way to high impact presentations and front of house communication. All right. For now, let me thank you for allowing me to share today. It's been an honor to speak with you, all 536 of you. To close the session, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a Q&A. Mikey, I do believe you are up on stage now.
Well, Natalie, you absolutely rocked that presentation. And a huge shout out to everyone for their enthusiastic engagement. The comments were pouring in, and it was a thrill to witness the energy in the room. Before we get to the Q&A, I would just like to share a quick featured action here. If you'd like to get updates from Natalie and NK Communication, you can press subscribe now on that link and just fill in your emails to get any updates from NK Communications. Right. So before we get into the Q&A, there were some questions that actually came in during the registration process, which we will address first. But in the meantime, please do ask any questions you'd like to ask in the chat box, and we'll get to it after the registration questions. Okay, first registration question, yes. Natalie. How do you overcome your fear of asking questions? This person feels their questions are sometimes trivial and eat up other people's time, and it makes them feel bad for them asking the question.
Really? Oh dear. Okay. The simplest way to think about it is you have to ask questions in order for you to grow. If you keep quiet and feel bad for the things that you're asking, you are not going to grow. You kind of have to reframe your mindset to view asking questions as an opportunity for you to grow. I think I've said that 3 times already. If you want to try it out, you can start small by asking more questions on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be at a team meeting when you are put on the spot and you're center in the spotlight. No, you can just ask random questions. Hey, Mikey, how are you doing today? Oh, by the way, could you pass me the salt? Simple questions just to get yourself more comfortable or more familiar with asking those questions. The biggest thing is remember, if you're shy, if you don't want to move out of your bubble, if you're not willing to explore anything further than what you are comfortable with, you're not going to grow. The promotion is going to go to somebody else. Somebody else is going to be viewed more positively than you if you're going to sit in the corner and keep quiet. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, of course. For this person, the fact they're already asking this question in such a big public forum in front of so many people is already a first step in overcoming this fear.
For sure.
They've recognized the value and importance of their own curiosity to take that step in asking this question. So that's already a big milestone for that person. Okay. Next question. How do you disagree with an opinion without coming off as rude or making the other person feel offended?
Actually, this is a question that I get asked quite often. A lot of people keep quiet, especially here in Malaysia, because they don't want to offend anybody. But sometimes you have to disagree, especially if you know you are correct. This is something that I truly believe in. I am going to disagree if I feel that I am right until you prove me wrong. So what you can do is you can use your active listening skills, the 7-step process, to really understand the root of the problem. Ask those open-ended questions, ask those probing questions, clarify so that you know exactly what the problem is. And when you are disagreeing with somebody, you need to make sure that you're choosing your words carefully. As I said earlier in this webinar, I said, in the heat of the moment, you're not choosing your words. You're saying the first thing that comes to your mind, and it's fueled by your emotions. So choose your words carefully and make sure you avoid giving that disagreeing statement in the form of a personal attack. You need to acknowledge the other person's perspective. You need to acknowledge the other person's emotions, and try to use as much I feel this way, and not so much you did this, you shouldn't do that. The minute that you start using you're accusing other people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the goal isn't exactly to win the argument, but the whole point is to engage in a respectful and meaningful dialogue. So by practicing what Natalie has shared before, you can express disagreement without causing any offense. And it's important to still maintain a healthy and respectful conversation to keep the relationship healthy as well.
Yeah, I think that you're right.
Okay.
You say it's not about winning the argument, it's about really understanding what's going on. A lot of people, when they go into it, they just want to win. Even if they're wrong, they'll keep fighting to
Exactly.
say, I'm correct. Yeah.
I find that to be true, especially for competitive people.
Yes.
And they feel like they might win, but they still actually have the wrong argument. But because of the way they carry themselves, they still feel like they've won.
That's true, Mikey.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. What advice can you give to a work team that needs to practice transparency? Because for this person, they feel like their team members always talk behind each other's back, and that generally contributes to a quite toxic and exhausting environment.
All right. Simple answer to that particular question is every single thing you have learned today. If you implement it, your team should follow. It starts by you setting the example. If you're the one that's not transparent, nobody is going to be following in your footsteps. They're going to be the same thing as you. So you need to start by setting the example, by being more transparent in your communication, by creating the safe environment for people to be able to share without any sort of kickback, judgment. The minute that you start making things more comfortable for other people is the minute that they're going to start speaking up more. And you can even establish these, communication channels where they can talk to you at any point in time. A simple WhatsApp group is actually something that's really, really important. And you can encourage all this constructive feedback and criticism. You need to do it by setting the example.
Exactly. And workplace culture is an organic thing. It's not something that's going to change immediately, right? It's something that will take a team effort to cultivate by engaging everyone. So what I would encourage as well is just patience if you do want to change your
Yeah, and
workplace
it
culture.
goes from the top.
And exactly. Okay. Last registration question. How do I prevent myself from stuttering or shaking um, when uh, speaking in public?
Okay. First thing that I want to say is you need to practice. It doesn't matter if you're having a presentation on something that you know very, very well, or you don't know well, or you think you're going to go in there and you're going to wing it. The stuttering is going to get worse if you have zero practice. But then again, if you have really bad stuttering, it's probably the best if you seek therapy. If it's too severe, there are therapists who can help you with stuttering. But if it's just a small stutter because you're super, super nervous, practice, practice, practice. A lot of people think that they know a topic really, really well. They can go up there on stage and talk about something. It doesn't work that way. The minute you get up there and you look at everybody's eyes looking at you, it's a completely different ballgame. And everything that you've remembered or you want to say flies out the window. So practice is very, very important. Slow down your speech. Don't rush when you talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, put your phone up, record yourself, and see how fast you speak. And try to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, and practice your breathing exercises to get your mind and your heart in a steady state.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to acknowledge that public speaking confidence comes with experience as well. So you're bound to fail at some point. And don't be so discouraged by the occasional setbacks because those are learning points. I'm sure, Natalie, yourself, you must have been early on in your career, you probably had a lot of anxiety and have messed up in some public speaking opportunities as well. I'm sure on radio as well.
There have been so many. There have been, I was once shouted at by a client because I didn't do the job properly. I fell into a hole in the stage. I played two things at once on the radio. I put out things or played these sound bites that weren't supposed to air. I messed up. If you mess up on radio, it's actually really fun because you just need to kind of embrace the moment and make a joke out of it. So if you mess up, you're just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
let's continue. And people actually like that. That's what I meant by authenticity. If you mess up, people view you as being a lot more human. They can relate to you. Oh, she's just like me.
Mm,
She messes up too. Yeah.
exactly. I think I remember your story where you were interviewing was it Justin Timberlake's pop group?
I think it's the Backstreet Boys. Is it? Yeah.
Backstreet Boys. I think so. And it didn't go as you expected.
No, at all. So yeah, I was talking to them. I had done zero preparation and I was the biggest like Backstreet Boys fan. I had their posters on my wall. No preparation whatsoever. I went in there waiting for them. They came in and honestly, the words couldn't come out of my mouth. And it was such an awkward and uncomfortable interview. They looked at me as if I was an alien and it was the worst interview of my life. That's why I'm a strong believer of practice, practice, prepare, practice.
Exactly. Okay, so those are the registration questions. I know it's 5 o'clock. Natalie, would you mind extending maybe like 5 or 10 minutes just for some of the live questions being asked? Okay, great. Let me just backtrack a bit. Okay, first question. How to deal with people that are unlikely to listen to our ideas?
I guess you need to figure out what sort of person that person is and find a correct way for you to communicate with them. You have all sorts of different people at the office, at the workplace. You have introverts, extroverts, you have dominating characters, you have quiet little characters, you have people who are analytical. You need to figure out what type of person that person is and then figure out the proper communication for that particular person.
Yeah, because surely there can't be like one solution for everyone because everyone operates differently. And you need to engage in some dialogue to even understand where they're coming from, to understand why they're not listening.
Also, the active listening is very important for you as well. Actively listen to what they're trying to say, get to the root of the problem, and then you can provide, the solutions or you can speak to them. You need to build trust with the person.
Exactly. Okay, next question. How would you encourage a younger junior to be more open to learning and not so afraid of making mistakes?
Wow. From my experience, younger people, especially right now, your Gen Zs who are in the workplace, they're actually super interested to learn, at least the ones that I have been working with or have been training or coaching. But I guess everybody has their own things that make them excited. So I guess you could find different ways to make them excited about whatever it is that you want them to do. Try to talk to them. What is something that you're passionate about? What is something that interests you? What is something that excites you? You can find all of this out by asking those great questions. You can flip back a bunch of slides and look at asking great questions, open-ended questions. If you could do whatever it is with 1 million ringgit, what would you do? You can really know the person. So I guess build trust, have that relationship with the person, and ask great questions.
Very important. Okay, next question. I'm not going to call this person out,
Okay.
but they said their partner recently commented that they tend to forget whatever their partner's told them. And in response, they just do the silent treatment. They know it's not a good way of responding, but how can we avoid this in the future? I'm definitely guilty of that
I
myself
love
as
how
well.
this has become from a workplace one to a relationship one. So how do you communicate with silent treatment? Honestly, I really, really hate as a person, I hate silent treatment. My mom used to do it to me when I was a kid. It was like if I messed up once, she would sit quietly, she wouldn't even talk to me. And this is why till today I really don't like it. I'm one for constantly saying what's on my mind. So I guess you need to leave the person to brew in whatever it is that they're brewing in and give them time to, digest whatever it is that you guys were arguing about. Then after that, you can just say, hey, do you have time for a chat? I really want to know what's going on in your mind, and use those I statements. I would like to know. I don't feel comfortable. I feel sad. Those sort of things, which encourage the other person to kind of open up and speak more.
Just to apologize in advance, there are still a lot of questions, but if we don't get to your question, please remember you can reach out to Natalie, either from the link below or through her socials, and you can reach out to your own Naluri coach on the app. They will answer your question. They are live 24/7. But yeah, okay, let's continue. I'll just ask 3 more, Natalie.
Sure.
Is that fine? Okay. How do you deal with a boss that makes a personal attack on you? For example, they attack us when they're in the middle of a presentation and they don't give constructive comments.
I had a boss who was like that, well, at least not to me, but to other people in my team. And it was really sad for me to see when this was happening right in front of everybody else. It's actually really, really painful. But I guess the best way for you to go about this is to really not just shy away from the situation and not say anything. Confront your boss and say, I don't really appreciate it when you do this to me because it makes me feel like this. It's not like, oh, you did this, you did that. It makes me feel like this. Is it okay if you reserve your comments about my presentations for after my presentation? I would prefer if you tell me one to one. Sometimes you need to be super honest in your communication. You need to tell them exactly what you're feeling. And if you can be honest, I think your boss might appreciate that you're being honest. He might not even notice that that's what he's doing.
Exactly. And it's never a nice experience to be publicly shamed. But I guess you can use your body language to give that feeling as well, that you're not happy. And then he'll start feeling bad as well. Assuming he's a he.
But you have to say something. This is well,
Of
yeah,
course,
but you
yeah.
can just like raise one
Yeah.
eyebrow and be like, excuse me.
Yeah. Or just death stare
Yeah,
him.
that's there.
Okay, next question is more related about personality types, which is important in the office. So how do we break through or communicate with a team member who is an introvert in nature?
Okay, communicating with an introvert is, I'm an introvert myself. So I know exactly how you might feel, but I'm not a super introvert. So introverted people need time to digest a lot of things. You can't, you know, shout at them and expect answers immediately and ask them to immediately give you a response to something. They need time to digest, they need time to reflect, they need time to come out of their cocoon. Sometimes you may not have the time. but you can say, hey, I need this answer rather urgently. Another thing to communicate with an introvert, I know most people who are extroverts are going to be so annoyed at introverts and how they behave in public. Why are you so quiet? Why don't I challenge you to talk in front of everybody? Okay, let's call the introvert, and the introvert's going to be the one who's speaking today. You can't do that to an introvert. It's only going to make them feel smaller and smaller. So don't put the spotlight on them. Get them to be comfortable, build that trust with the other person, and say, hey, once you're comfortable, would it be okay if you tried presenting? It's super simple. Introverts just need a lot of coaxing and a lot of like gentle pushing in the right direction. For most people, when they're introverted, sometimes they're, what is it called? Introverted extrovert. So they quite like the attention, but they don't really want to be the center of attention. So if they have something very exciting to share, they're going to want to do it.
Just one last question to finish off. Again, I'm sorry if we haven't been able to address the question. How do you manage people who always ask provoking questions? I'm assuming this person gets emotionally triggered sometimes when these people ask them these questions.
See, Rajeswari Raju. Hello, Rajeswari. How do you manage people who always ask provoking questions? Provoking in, I'm assuming, in a negative way. Perhaps you can ask them, this is a classic. Like if you feel whatever that somebody's asking you is too much, you can say, what do you mean by that? The minute that you reflect it back on the other person is the minute the other person goes, oh, and they have to justify their terrible comment or their terrible question. And you can just keep going, well, what do you mean by that? Instead of like directly going, hey, don't say that. Or why'd you say that? Hey, that's rude. You can just say, well, what do you mean by that? And at that point, the person's going to be like, how do I justify that I'm being mean? So I guess that's my way of dealing with somebody who's asking too many provoking questions or rude questions.
Yeah, because in a way you turn it back on them and then they're like stumped and don't really know how to respond.
Thumbs up. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you everyone for the questions. And very appreciative of them, but unfortunately due to time constraints, we will have to wrap up the Q&A. Natalie, is there anything you'd like to say before we bring the session to a close? Anything you can share with our fearlessly inspired audience?
Thank you. I hope that you will take the information that I've shared today, download the slides, and really implement the lessons that you have learned today at the workplace. I mean, it's a long process to become a very fearless leader, but it starts by just small baby steps. The minute that you can take one step is the minute you're going to take another step. So just start, go slow, look at the handout, and see where you can begin. And if ever you need any help, please DM us on Instagram at natalie.kniese or send us an email at contact@nataliekniese.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for all this. It's an outpouring of like thumbs up and happy faces. So thank you. It made my day today. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And I apologize for not knowing NSYNC. I was a baby at the time. I'll do more research next time I ask that. But a round of applause to everyone here. Your presence here today has made this event an unforgettable experience, and we're deeply grateful for everyone's enthusiastic participation. Before we end the session, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this awesome presentation by Natalie. You can click the that button there on your left of the screen just to leave some feedback, leave a testimonial for Natalie, for me, and anything we can do to improve these Naluri community webinars. Your feedback means the world to us, so please fill in the survey form. For more valuable insights, visit the Naluri community website. You can stay tuned for upcoming webinars that will take you on even more journeys of growth and discovery. Once again, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Natalie, from the bottom of our hearts for joining this event today. Until we meet again at the next thrilling webinar, keep shining and never stop embracing the thrill of learning. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If everyone was to stay on, you'll be redirected to the feedback form. Thank you, everyone.